Over the last 3 years, I've made $27,000 selling trading cards as a side hustle. This was while working a full-time job. I didn't chase rare collections or try to have a huge eBay store. I didn't grade cards. I built a lean, low-cost operation focused on repeatable systems, strong margins, and steady volume. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it and how I'd start over today, where to source cards from, how to list them, what tools I would use, and how to turn a few $100 into thousands in profit, even if you're not a card expert. So let's get started. I started trading cards as a kid and then got back into it in college during the 2020 market boom. Originally, I sold some of my childhood cards, and then I found a deal on Craigslist for a first edition Neo Genesis Lugia for $700 with a whole binder of cards. I graded the Lugia, graded a CGC 9, sold that for $2,000, and was kind of hooked ever since that original flip. That was definitely lucky, and that approach wasn't sustainable, as I found in the coming years. What was sustainable was selling cards that nobody else was paying attention to. And these are bulk cards used by competitive players, not just rare collectibles, but stuff people need to play to build decks and actually play the Pokemon trading card game. This was a piece of the market that I didn't even know anything about when I got started, and it's definitely the best strategy for consistently making money. It's not going to be going out and lowballing people on very rare collectible cards like a Moonbryon and then getting it graded. I think that's just way too competitive. There's way too much that can go wrong. We send a card into PSA and you get a 10 or a 9 instead of a 10. That card is worth a fifth or less than what you thought it should be worth, and suddenly you have no profit margin left. Whereas selling these bulk cards, it's very repeatable, it's consistent, it's steady, it's cheap, and it's a great way to make good profit on the side. So let's talk about how you could get started and what makes this work from a business perspective. So cards has a pretty low startup cost. I began with about $300 in supplies and $100 in card inventory. You'd get away with a little bit less than this if you had some of the stuff already, like a printer, or wanted to handwrite labels. But $300 would get you a really strong start. Also, things that make this work, like I mentioned, predictable demand. Cards used in competitive formats frequently rotate out. So that consistently drives new people to buy new cards all the time because the old ones that they were using in their decks are no longer legal to use in tournaments. And there's a whole new set of cards that are legal, which keeps people buying new cards all the time. Has a pretty solid return on your investment. Typically, we're targeting buying bulk cards for around a penny a card. Some of these can sell for 25 cents all the way up to $5 if they spike in price due to winning a recent tournament or being really competitive. So we have great ROIs on certain cards. Obviously, you need to buy these in bulk, so you're going to buy thousands of cards for a penny each, and then maybe only 100 or a couple hundred end up being worth listing. So there's definitely some pros and cons there. I would say this is pretty low risk, though. If you buy these cards for a penny a piece, you can pretty much always resell them for a penny a piece. I always let people know that they've been sorted through and picked through, but there's still just many buyers that will buy them for a penny each, throw them in cheap bins at trading card shows, or repackage them with other cards for repacks or things like that. So there's always a pretty easy way to get out of the cards if you find that it's not for you or it's no longer profitable. So let's talk sales strategy next. Basically, the only thing I've used throughout my trading card sort of side hustle is TCG Player. It's basically like Amazon for trading card games. The beauty of TCG Player is you can list hundreds or thousands of cards without photos. So unlike eBay, where you'd have to spend the time to take a picture, write a nice description, and do all of that, TCG Player already has the pictures preloaded, and then you just have to pick what grade the card is. So near mint, good condition, fine condition, damaged condition, and then you just put how many you have, what price you want, and you don't have to worry about doing a picture, writing a description. Pretty much everybody knows what they're getting. All the card text is already written in there. So it's great for sellers to be able to really quickly list these bulk cards. You'd never be able to do this on eBay otherwise because it would be such a big time suck. And then if I do have any leftover bulk, I am going to go to eBay. Additionally, if I do happen to find any rare or valuable cards, sometimes I'll put those on eBay as well. But for the vast majority of even more expensive cards, I'm going to list those on TCG Player unless it's really mint. And I think that having pictures is actually going to make it worth more money. Then sometimes I'll put it on eBay, or if I don't know exactly the value of the card, start at a 99-cent auction, and you're probably going to get really close to the market value because Pokemon is so popular and there's so many buyers all the time. That card's going to get really close to the market value as long as you list it at a reasonable time, between like 6 to 9 at night. You should be just fine. So for inventory, what are we going to do? And this is, I kind of mentioned it before, but the real secret that I found to the Pokemon card business and selling trading cards in general is targeting the player's market, not the collector's market. Collectors are pretty much always willing to lose money. People love breaking packs. They love to sell cards. And even selling those, you're going to get only like 80%. Or if you sell them on eBay, eBay is going to take 15% in fees. And the market is just really fixed. It's nearly impossible to buy collector grade cards, collectible cards, for significantly less than what you can sell them for. A lot of times at the very low end, you're going to have to pay 70% of market for them. And then if you sell them on eBay, you're going to get 85% because 15% goes to eBay. And then with returns or any issues, it's really hard to make any money. I feel the same way about grading. Grading is just so random. Even if you're really good at judging cards and you get a lot of PSA 10s, just the swing between a 10 and a 9 is so much. And I think sometimes the grading companies are even against you. I think this has been proven with like first edition cards from base set getting sent in now. They're just so unlikely to get a 10 because I think the graders just don't think there should be 10s, or they don't want to increase the population report. So it's nearly impossible. Something like a Greninja Gold Star is a recent card that if you graded a 10, you're making a couple $100. But if it grades a 9, it's basically worth less than what a raw copy is worth. So like that's a game where you could buy many copies, send them all in, but you have $20 in card and grading fees, and then you have all the time invested in 45, 60 days. You have to pay for shipping out there. There's just so many logistics. It's really hard to make any money doing that, was kind of what I found. Now, if you do hunt for collections that are undervalued, you can find cards that are worth grading, like the Lugia story that I had, but those deals are so few and far between, and there's so much competition that it's just impossible to build a steady, repeatable business on, because you have to find people that are basically selling cards for under market value, which is incredibly difficult. So, back to the players versus the collector's market. Players don't care if a card's holographic. They don't even necessarily always care about the condition. Some players want nice condition cards, but some are more than happy to play with cards that has a few dings or scratches as long as it's playable. And that's where kind of the value is here. They need these cards. They're not worth as much as the collectible cards, but it's a much more consistent market. There's thousands, tens of thousands of players. They're always looking for many copies of a card because you need more than one copy typically in a deck. So they might need 2 copies, they might need 4 copies. So they're looking to buy many, and then across tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of players, lots of copies of those cards are going to sell all the time. Additionally, people get sick of playing the same deck all the time, so they might want to sell out of a deck. Now they need a new deck, and they have to go buy those cards. TCG Player is probably the most popular place for them to do that. I'm not going to cover all of the gear that I use or all the tools that I use in this video. I do have a blog post that I'll link, and then I'll list all of the stuff below. They are affiliate links, so if you do buy anything, I definitely appreciate it. Helps out the channel, helps me, and I really do think it's the most efficient way to ship cards that I've found over the 3 years, is using all of those individual products. So how to start? So if I had not a lot of money and I wanted to start today, I would try to target Facebook Marketplace listings for between 3,000 to 5,000 cards, and I would always try to be right at that penny each per card. So 5,000 cards, you're going to want to pay $50. If you do have some hollows in there or some collectible cards, you may have to go up in price, and I would just try to evaluate those at whatever they're listed for on TCG Player, and then do 60 to 70% of those, and then the bulk still at 1 penny a card. All right, so once you find a good listing to buy, I would sort those cards by set, and then I would identify which ones are worth money. So how you're going to do this is you're going to sort them all by set. It's a huge pain because you have to look at the little tiny set symbol or the letter code. But once you have them all sorted out by that, you can then go to TCG Player, and you're going to get selective with your filters. You're going to filter just to that set. You're going to select just cards, and then you're going to pick commons, uncommons, and rares. And then you're going to sort by highest price to lowest price. And I would take anything that has a market value above 20 to 25 cents. This probably is not going to be a lot of cards. In a typical set that for non-hollow cards, there's maybe 1 to 5 cards that are worth more than 25 cents. It's crazy, but that narrows it down. And then I would either write down these cards or I would just keep it up on your computer screen and I would sort through super fast all of the cards that are in those 5, put them in a pile, throw the rest in a large flat rate box so you can ship them out. And then I pull those up on TCG Player, list them on my inventory. And like I just said, the lowest price I'll list the card for now is 35 cents. That gives you a little bit of profit if somebody buys a single card. If you buy more than $5 on my TCG Player, which is a setting once you get to level 4, it's free shipping. So definitely, I think I would take advantage of that. But if you buy less than $5, the most or the least amount you can pay for one of my cards is 35 cents, just because that's the only, I mean, it's still not really worth my time to ship, but at least I'm not losing money on those really low orders. And I don't have a ton of time to pack orders now. When I first started, I had 10 cents as the lowest amount of cards, and I was packing 20 to 30 orders a day. It was taking so much time. I was losing money on a lot of those orders, and it just wasn't worth it. So now, just because I'm not as active in this, I've bumped my minimum price up quite a bit. And then once you have all your cards listed, you're going to go put them in those 4 rare storage boxes with your organizers, A's and the A's, B's and the B's, so on and so forth. And then once all that's done, and you fill up a large flat rate box from the USPS, that holds around 7,500 cards, list that on eBay, just say it's picked through bulk Pokemon, listed at 99 cents, 30 some dollar shipping. You can pick it in your shipping options so that the buyer pays exactly the cost, and then list that, and you get basically the majority of your money back, and you kept all the profitable cards. And if they are competitive and in a new set, they should sell very quickly. However, if you do have many copies, like say you have 4 copies of a card and the market price is 50 cents, might be worth listing those for 99 cents because players do need 4 copies. Or maybe a better example is $1.25, because if they buy 4 copies, it's going to be $5. They're going to get free shipping. Or if they had to go buy 5 75-cent copies from somebody else, but they had to pay 99-cent shipping on all of those, they're going to come out way ahead to buy your purchase. So it's not always the best to be the cheapest. When you first start and you don't have any reviews or any reputation, you got to start at the bottom. But as you have many, many sales and many positive reviews, you can actually start to sometimes almost double the price on these really cheap cards, because if they buy $5, it is free shipping, which really makes it worth it for the buyer. To run through an example of how much profit margin you're looking for on an order, if somebody placed an order for 50 cents with 99-cent shipping, I'd make about 34 cents in net profit after fees and supplies. It's a 34x return on a 1-cent card, but obviously 34 cents, even if it takes me 5 minutes, I can only do 12 of those. And 30 cents times 12 is about $3.60. So your ROI per hour is very low. However, it has good sort of unit metric returns, which means you can start for $100. And if you're getting a 34x return, you make pretty decent money on those, but it is just a huge time sink. A $5 order of 12 cards for me would make about $2.94 in profit on 12 cents of inventory, which is a 2,300% ROI. Again, the ROI numbers are crazy, but the expenses and the cost of actually getting that delivered to the customer, the shipping, the envelope, the paper, the stamp, all of that is what really eats into your profit. Obviously, there you're making $3. I could probably pack an order of 12 cards in about 10 minutes. So now we're up to $18 an hour. So it does get a little bit better, but you really got to be organized. You got to have good volume, and you need those higher value orders to make it worth your time. One thing I would recommend if you are looking to scale this business is getting into niche games. World of Warcraft was a huge one for me. I bought a large lot of probably around 10,000 World of Warcraft cards. There's just not that many sellers of them. It's a niche game, but the people that do still play the game, it's no longer an active game. It's discontinued. The people that do still play are willing to pay. I think the lowest I have those ones listed for is almost 50 cents. I have sold a lot of 99-cent cards. Sometimes I'm the only person with that card available. It's definitely a sort of unique market that you can really dominate and monopolize on. For most people, this could be a simple cash flow positive side hustle, Definitely probably not going to get rich doing this. People have. There's huge card shops that make lots of money, but pretty difficult as a side hustle to make a lot of money on this one. So my general takeaway here is I would rate this side hustle about a 3 or a 4 out of 10. It's just not that scalable. The returns aren't that great. I would only recommend it if you like trading cards. Definitely would not do this one just for the money. But one thing I hadn't mentioned that is worth mentioning is I did kind of collect cards as I did this. Anything that I liked or I thought was maybe undervalued, I just put in a binder. So I do have some pretty rare cards that weren't that rare at the time. However, there's sort of an investing piece in the card world where you can keep some of this stuff and it will go up in value over time. The Pokemon card market is going through a pretty big boom right now. And so I did have roughly like a $10,000 collection that I kept. It fluctuates in value regularly, and I've kind of pared some stuff away. But that $10,000 collection went up to about $13,000 just in the last couple of months with the market getting really hot. There's some mega cards that got announced will be coming out again. So the older mega cards that I'd held on to because I thought they were undervalued at the time are now worth a lot of money. So there is sort of an investing aspect to here. I think if you learn the market and you know what you're doing, you could definitely do better than average returns in the Pokemon card market. But even with that, there is a lot of downsides. You have to store the product. There's risk of them getting damaged. When you want to get out of them, you have to find a buyer. They're not the most liquid. You do have to ship them. If you sell them on eBay, you're going to take a 15% haircut. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind, but it is worth mentioning there is sort of an investing aspect here. But wouldn't recommend this one unless you're already into trading cards. However, if you are interested in this, it can be a great side hustle for people who want to build systems, get used to inventory management. You can do it from home. You can do it all in your own time pretty much. And you can reinvest your profits into building a cool card collection that could be worth a lot of money in the future. If you're interested in this, I have a full blog post, like I mentioned, linked down below, that has kind of more in-depth strategy, how I package my cards, and all of that, along with all of the different tools that I use and links to go buy them. So definitely check that out. And if you're into these types of side hustles, definitely subscribe, stick around. I have a couple more videos coming out on side hustles that I've done in the past. And then going forward, we're going to have side hustles that I'm currently working on to give you guys everything that I learn as I'm going through strategies, tips, and all of that good stuff. So definitely subscribe if you're interested in that. Thanks for watching. Let me know what side hustle you're working on right now down in the comments. And if you have any suggestions for side hustles you want me to try, definitely drop those down below as well. I'm always looking for new ideas to test out. So maybe your idea will be one of them.